If you're having problems with your septic system and you're tired of spending so much money each year to have it pumped, then SeptiClean is the answer for you. SeptiClean is an advanced specially formulated blend of bacteria used in the treatment of home and commercial septic systems. The breakdown of waste in your system relies on biological activity of naturally occurring bacteria. SeptiClean restores the natural biological process in your septic system and boosts the existing biological activity. SeptiClean is completely safe on all plumbing and can help prevent expensive emergencies in pumping. SeptiClean has approximately 6 to 100 times the bacteria count of other leading off-the-shelf brands in a 1-year supply. SeptiClean comes in a water-soluble pack, which you flush down the toilet once a month with no mess or stress. Save time, money, and maintenance on your septic system. Find SeptiClean at Emporium True Value Hardware on Main Street in Sag Harbor or visit micro-tab.com. That's micro-tabb.com. Micro-tabb.com.
Noted Republican political consultant Rob Ryan, also very involved in the campaign opposing Proposition 1.
Rob's never made a mistake I haven't heard about. Rob, I miss you, buddy. How you doing?
My only mistake is coming on your show. You know?
It's Frank's show, Rob. Rob and I go back to 94. Rob, you're the first or second person hired for George Pataki?
First.
So Pat Donahue was second and Felicia was third.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And I met Rob at the Rudy Giuliani inauguration, walking from City Hall, Rob, to Borough, where I'd worked for Rudy at that time, and introducing Rob and Pat, and George knew me from his assembly days.
All right, Rob, I would also like to get a detailed analysis from you on all the places that you saw Obie Murray early on in your relationship, but instead I'll just ask you about the
Rob's
election.
ex-wife.
Hey, all right.
Hey, Rob, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody heard that but you and your family.
Rob, first, before we talk about Proposition 1 in New York State, which was certainly a big deal, give me your overall take on the Trump victory. Did you see him winning by as wide an electoral margin and, quite frankly, as wide as a popular vote margin as he appears to have won today?
Yeah, you could see it coming. I mean, I told someone that Harris would peak about a week after Labor Day, which I think is right around when she peaked. And, I'm a big believer in polls, and I'm a big believer in real clear politics. If you look at they had this day in history, and they had, the current race. They had the 2020 race and the 2016 race. And you could see in all the battleground states, you could see Trump's movement. And more importantly, you could see where she was just falling short of either Biden's vote or Hillary Clinton's vote by anywhere from 5 to 7 points. She was just underperforming across the board.
But, Rob, also let's look at the swing states and the plurality in those states and what that margin is. Because at the end of the day, it was going to be a close race on the popular vote nationwide. Then the question was, what would happen if they split the 7 states? Or Trump had the potential to run them all, potentially. Harris finally, in the last week or two, became 1 or 2 paths to get to 270, which is where she was, where Biden was when he got out. That became a problem. And then Donald Trump gave them every opportunity since that Madison Square Garden speech to run with it. And they just couldn't execute. They couldn't get it done.
No. And they just, as I said, the underperforming, it was just so telling.
Now, Rob.
And there was so little enthusiasm out there from what I saw.
Rob, you did the Doug Hoffman race. That sort of became a special election, but it was on an election day with everything. You had gone through that. I'd gone up there the last couple of weeks of the campaign. Right. The Bob Turner race you turned me down on. We always joke about that. Rob would have been great on there. He's always a great guy to work with. I love it. I always ask him. But a special election is so different. And it's one of the things I've always talked about here, that they had 90 days to run a campaign. And usually there's 10 pieces of stuff on the ground, and you get a chance to pick up the right ones. In a special election, you have a chance to make 3 messages, possibly, if you can get them through. And Harris kept on changing them. I think, Rob,
she really had no message when you come down to it, except that she grew up in a middle-class household where there was grass on the lawn, in the front yard.
But she did scatter throughout that Trump is a bad man, orange man bad. But she didn't do it effectively and consistently. And then when she panicked to motivate the base, it then became divisive, and it took away the Biden unity message. And they said, wait, Trump's divisive. What's that? And then go ahead, Frank. You got something?
At 30 minutes after the hour, this is the other side of midnight. If people are just tuning in, we're talking with noted Republican political consultant Rob Ryan. Rob, let me ask you, we're being heard in a lot of blue cities right now. We're on in Chicago. We're on in New York. I was at a Republican event the other day, and some Republican consultants were lamenting that they hoped Trump would win, but that it made their job in terms of getting Republican candidates elected in blue states like New York and maybe New Jersey more difficult because they're going to tie whatever Republican candidate runs to Trump. Do you agree with that? Is this something that if you're a Republican is makes your job tougher in terms of getting elected in cities or states like New York?
I think it all depends on your district. And, you know, I have been in situations with one of my clients, Nicole Maliotakis, when she ran for mayor in 2017. Trump had just been elected, and every single question from the press during the whole campaign is basically, what did you think of what Donald Trump said today?
And the convergence of social media and Donald Trump and the timing of that, Rob, you could have a press conference on the greatest thing in your district. We had Curtis Lee out there for Jack Martins in Nassau County. In, was it 16 or 17, Frank, when he was
17?
17. Right. And Donald Trump tweeted, and I had to have breakfast with Curtis and Jack, and I said, whatever happens at the press conference, and there's questions about Donald Trump, he hasn't said something yet, but he will, say, I'll be happy to address it, but get through what we have to get through. Every press conference gets taken over by the press and asking us questions.
All right, Rob, let me ask you the same question I asked John Catsimatidis earlier about Eric Adams. Whenever the issue of Eric Adams has come up, Trump has been laudatory in terms of saying the DOJ is targeting him politically, drawing comparisons between Adams's case and his own case. He did this at the Al Smith dinner. He's done this at the Madison Square Garden rally. What was speculated in the press is that Eric Adams was essentially hoping that that Trump would win so he could get a break on these charges. Do you see that happening? Do you see a pardon in Trump from Trump to Adams in the future, or maybe even Trump just telling his DOJ to drop these charges?
I don't know. I think no. I don't think you're going to see the charges dropped. I think a lot depends on when push comes to shove, how much of a real case they have.
And don't forget, Frank, January 20th is the swearing in. When does the U.S. attorney take over in that case? And is there a March start date for the trial as of now?
April, right.
And then before that, you've got matching funds, yes or no, for Adams.
Well, let me just hear Rob's response to this, and then I'll have you weigh in. Trust me, we're going to be with you all hour.
No. Sorry, Frank.
Go ahead, Rob.
Well, no. I think we have to see more what happens and how serious the actual charges are when it goes to court. But I don't see Trump coming in, pre-trial or anything, and having telling the new AG or the new U.S. attorney to throw it out. I don't see that happening. But the problem is, if Adams is going to have the case going right around his primary, and that's not going to be very helpful. And if Adams is the Democratic nominee, I think the city's in a lot of trouble.
You also have the situation, Frank, I think, it's not double jeopardy based upon when it gets attached, but if U.S. Justice drops it, does D.A. Bragg step in and press charges? You had that with Brian Benjamin, the back and forth, who was going to prosecute.
Right. They tried to do that with Paul Manafort. If you're just tuning in, I'm Frank Morano. This is The Other Side of Midnight. Obie Murray joining me in studio. Rob Ryan on the phone. Rob, lastly, let me ask you about Proposition 1. This was a big deal, and you were head of one of the groups that was trying to stop this, or at least a spokesman for one of the groups that was trying to stop this. Right. It passed overwhelmingly. You disappointed, I'm sure, but what do you see as the way forward? Is there an opportunity for a legal challenge here?
Well, I think there. One thing is, yes, I think there is a chance for a legal challenge. But if this passes, or it has passed, if it is enacted, the people who are going to win are the trial lawyers, because you're going to see so many lawsuits going on around the state, going from basically every level of government. You know, the municipal governments are going to have lawsuits. You're going to have private schools, religious schools, you know, athletic groups, you name it. And it's just going to be a mess.
Now, it's going to be interesting. Rob, thank you for taking the time. I know it's an early morning after a late night. I don't know if you've been to bed yet, but I appreciate you joining us.
Okay, great.
Hey,
You
Rob,
have
I
a
miss
good
you.
one.
Miss you, Rob.
Yeah, love and kisses. Bye.
All right.